looking at conflict here. So we have conflicting interests.
Conflicting interests
And
competing perspectives.
Competing perspectives.
So if you started out by doing something with this piece and just like remember yesterday when we did these pieces, let's quickly summarize how they caused conflict.
See, and I was thinking, because I remembered when, and I'd worked with Karen, and we had made that foldable with the expansion. Karen, do you remember when we went through and did that? And so I was like, do I need some type of graphic organizer?
See, that's what I was kind
for
of
them?
thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But I just wanted it to be more mobile, so that way they can,
Like more hands-on mobile?
yeah, like do I have them get note cards with the different pieces, or is that too messy?
Oh, that would be fun and different. It's not like you've done that before. So if they read pieces from, like reviewed the pieces from yesterday, closely read this image, read this, and what they were doing was taking maybe textual evidence or paraphrases, putting each idea on a note card, and then trying to lay them out and organize them into something.
And so what, for the note card, what should I have them look for? Like, what interest does this represent?
Yep.
Note cards. What interest?
Maybe who and what. Like, because yesterday you said China had an interest in the relationship with America. American government had an interest.
And I think who or what interest does China, or does it represent, and then what perspective does it offer?
Yeah.
I need more note cards.
We have some. So if it was like, okay, that particular article from yesterday offered the perspective that trade relations and open door policies were
beneficial to the American government and economy.
Yep. Okay. So they could potentially, and maybe it could be a front back thing, like the ideas on the front, the text evidence is on the back, if there was a line from the piece that supported it.
So, okay, so we start off by reviewing the 3 pieces that we've already done, and we have them make the note cards.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then introduce,
It'd be
I would
cool
say
if they
piece
could be
by
color
piece.
coded.
That would be
Wouldn't that be
cool.
neat to be like,
You could highlight, with highlighters, have them color coded.
or even like marker too, they could go through as they're kind of making their web. Okay, so start off with that. Then we're gonna do a close read of the cartoon.
Yep.
Actually, and originally when I was doing this more step by step, I had thought about Mary Cohn's observations of the Chinaman, and
It directly conflicts
with that.
with that, yeah.
But the superiority of the Chinese worker directly
Was in
connects
that.
with the biography of Li Chu.
Right.
And so,
You turn that into a question.
okay,
How does this support or refute evidence from yesterday? And they could have a couple, it supports this, refutes this.
and so do they make a card? Do they start categorizing it? Do they already?
They would make cards just like they did for the other one, and then like physically put the relationship, like this supports this, this refutes that.
Okay, and then because this was going to be my lead-in to how could this report have prompted anti-Chinese feelings is kind of what I was thinking of going into. So,
which leads to this.
So close read support. So I'm going to go I'm not doing a very good job here. I have 5 pieces of paper. You know how I plan. Like, look, this was my brainstorm last night.
Oh my God, I love it.
So, make cards. 1 of past pieces. 2, do Mary Cohn. Mary Cohn. Make card.
Yeah. Cards, potentially.
Okay.
Would they be able to do? Because if it has 2 different ideas in it, like the hard worker one would be one, and then the fear would be potentially a different one.
Yep.
And then this hard worker supports this, the fear refutes this. You know what I mean? Yeah. Okay.
So, make cards.
Yeah.
And ask my question. And then have them, how does it either support
Mm-hmm.
or refute
Yeah.
the previous text?
Yep. So it's kind of adding another layer.
That's kind of what I wanted. I
And
want to
then
like,
layer. Yep, and
but
then-
then I was trying to figure out like, how would I make this work? Then I thought maybe a Nearpod, but I'm like, no, because I want them to have,
Yeah.
they need to be able to shuffle pieces.
Mhm.
And this way I wouldn't have to make like paper copies of
Right.
every piece,
Yep.
but they could go in and pull in the digital stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, the previous texts, okay, physically organized. Then I'm gonna move into the close read
Mm-hmm.
of the, I'm calling the octopus.
Yes. My gosh.
And I will have them make cards with that.
Mhm.
What perspective,
Mhm.
what interest,
Yep. Same.
cards.
And you guys have done close reads on images before? Yeah, so they know how to do that. And then is this the next piece?
And then so I'm wondering, I don't know if there might be pieces of that where they could say, oh, the custom robbery,
Mhm.
that might go back again when they're talking about, should we have them revisit the thing to see if there's any new connections?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, like, yeah,
Let's
each
corroborate.
time.
Corroborate connections.
Mhm.
And then we're gonna go in and we're gonna do Chinese Exclusion Act.
Mhm.
And I still might pare that down just a little bit. I went through last night and tried to simplify it as much as I could, because it was really, really lengthy.
Yeah.
But there were some pieces that are kind of crucial. I just wish they were as good of readers as me. Like,
Wouldn't
I
life
really
be so
wish,
easy?
like, because I was like, man, this shouldn't take them that long. And I'm like, but then they can't skim read like we do.
No, no.
And we skim fast. I'm like, oh, this is saying this. Oh, this is saying this. And they just don't.
And you've experienced it before,
Yeah.
and you know what you want them to get out of it, so, yeah, it'll take them a little bit longer. And you only have today to be able to get all these pieces done, you can't expand it into.
I probably could expand it into an additional day if I needed to.
Okay.
The only thing that I don't like about the card piece is keeping all the pieces together if we don't finish the lesson today.
So like when we do the hexagons,
Mm-hmm. We have
put 'em on a-
envelopes.
yeah, well, and you put them down onto, like butcher paper or bigger paper, like with the note cards, could they each have their own piece of butcher paper? And wherever they are at the end of the day, just tape them, and then like really little piece of tape them where they are, roll it up, the next day bring it back out.
Or they could even take a picture. That might even
They
be
could,
easier.
yeah,
Because we only have one kid that doesn't have a phone, of which
Okay.
I could take the picture for her.
right, for sure. Yeah, and that way the next day they could just come in and,
Because I'm really
Put it back out.
genuinely, I have an idea of how long I think this might take,
yeah.
but sometimes with something this brand new, I don't know.
Mhm.
And it depends, like, how many guiding questions do I need to grab that? Because I feel like my general statement, which perspective is there? I think they need a few
Yeah.
more explicit, and then I need some really explicit connections between how these two support each other in particular.
Yeah,
So they can get the practice for the district test.
right. Is the district test mostly, like text evidence, or is it conclusions and inferences?
It's big ones. Like this was pulled, which ideas from the Chinese Exclusion Act directly support the visuals used in the cartoon?
Oh, okay.
That is very similar to the
Yeah.
use textual evidence to back up your thinking.
Okay, so both kind of the conclusions, the commonalities,
And I think maybe with this one, it's okay for me to say we know these two directly support each other.
yes.
What ideas in particular could you pull out
Yeah.
where they line up?
So it would be kind of like a close read, but not exactly like step by step,
Mhm.
but giving them that purpose of
Mhm.
it. Are you thinking like one per group, like one copy,
Or digital too.
or digital? I was gonna say it would be nice if they could highlight it, but
I know. But you know what though? If
Whichever.
I were to I could get that all on one sheet without a problem. I could make them side by side, so that way it's not 2 sheets long, or front,
Right.
I hate front back. And then maybe pairs, but I hate to do pairs because then it disengages, a whole person doesn't get to see it directly if they're highlighting. I don't know.
Unless you make them sit side by side instead of like what we are,
Mhm.
because then that becomes the third point, and they can physically talk next to each other and do it, but kids don't like sitting next to each other sometimes.
Sometimes, well, they have to usually in my classroom with, I don't know.
I
It
think
would be
potato,
beneficial.
potato.
It would be beneficial for them to be able to highlight the different pieces.
And they'll have it, do you guys print it off for the district assessment?
Oftentimes,
Okay,
yeah.
so then they would have that similar experience. You'll be able to highlight on the district assessment.
Because then if I hold off on this, but Angel Island opens up a whole nother line of conflict.
Day 2.
Okay.
Pare this down so they can finish it today.
Okay.
Bring that in the next day. And maybe even that extends the card sort and the connections that they're making, but you just do it on a different day.
Okay.
Because yeah, I mean, it's valuable and important
Because I'm
and
thinking that,
interesting.
well, just even doing a poem comparison
Mhm.
about how different the experiences are
Yeah.
and the attitudes.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this, that back in the day, before all of the immigration regulation in the early 1900s, the minute that you came through Ellis Island, you were a citizen.
Oh, wow.
You were a citizen. You came in, you're a citizen, here you go. That's it.
Wowza. So different from now, and it's like, you're gonna wait 7 years and take 20,000 tests.
Now, the process that they experienced at Angel Island is actually way more, it's similar to today. One thing that I did notice is the reason why Angel Island was so different is because the Chinese Exclusion Act limited who could come in so much that's why they had to hang out on Angel Island so long, is because if you were just a regular old laborer, you could not come in according to the Chinese Exclusion Act.
Wow.
Okay, so they had to prove that they either had family here or that they had the correct governmental papers from China saying that they're a school teacher or a merchant or some type of upper class person
Yeah.
or government official or whatever. So, and they believe, and the American public treated them like criminals when they would come in, assuming that they were trying to sneak in, assuming that they weren't who they said they were.
Yeah.
And that's why they had to hang out on Angel Island so long,
Jeez.
because in order to verify
Right.
their stuff. But that's like a whole another line of conflict.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
I would say maybe plan for this tomorrow, seeing how this goes
Okay.
today.
so let's say they've gone through and they've made all their cards, and we've done our close read.
Yep.
Not doing Angel Island.
Nope.
Where do I go next? So we see the different connections. What kind of processing? What kind of summative piece should I pull together? Like,
What was the prompt for the district assessment again?
I don't know. Oh, how do they support each other? Which key ideas from the Chinese Exclusion Act directly support the visuals used in the cartoon? It was a clash of ideas, compare the 2 cartoons. And then I started thinking about how this perspective and that one indirectly are a clash of ideas. So what could I have
Could you
them do?
have them synthesize it at the end with come up with your top 5 broad sweeping statements or generalizations? Because this is really the note cards are really digging into the what, and then if you have them create generalizations about the conflict, not facts, but generalizations.
Which they should be good at.
Yes, that might help them make sense of it and give them their why to be able to just come to your essential question.
So top 5 generalizations about Chinese immigration.
Yeah.
The conflict in Chinese immigration.
Yeah. And I mean, you could even just state your question again. Why did Chinese immigration create so much conflict? Give me your top 5 generalization. It doesn't even have to be 5, it'd be
And,
3.
or actually I might go 3 and then have them write the thing, put it in the cards, next to the cards of how they gathered it,
Yeah.
and then take pictures of it
Yeah.
To upload.
Yep. And that would be they'd have that authentic conversation in the processing, but then your artifact would be just the conclusion statements and in the picture of what they end up.
How they end up
Yeah.
organizing it.
Yeah. And I can see some kids having like the text evidence and the ideas here and then the generalizations on the outside, but some kids might have the generalizations in the middle, and they can always draw arrows and kind of like the hexagons, like making it.
And that's kind of where I know in humanities that one time I had taken the ideas and I had them, they were squares, they weren't hexagons, so that way they were a little bit more, and they drew lines to connect ideas. And maybe I have them do that with this, actually stick their note cards and then draw the lines and then throw the connection.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll get done today.
Yeah.
But do you think that they need to do that? Like, it would probably make having the cards a little bit more purposeful.
I guess do they need to go to that step in order to get to the conclusions, or
I
is
don't
that
know
more?
yet.
Yeah.
I don't know yet. That's the problem.
Your kids are good enough at this point. Could you give them that option of like, if you need to clarify your thinking, and so that they don't kind of lose those ideas, so that they are able to process it, write it out, draw it out. And if you see kids that you think are struggling, point to, like, maybe you should draw this out.
Yep. Bless you. Was that the bell?
Yes, it
I
was.
gotta go.
Excuse me.
All my kids are gonna be in there. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You said you had more note cards.
Yes, yep.